everyone, welcome to this episode of Plant People. Now, today I thought something a little different. It's my birthday, so I'm gonna make a cheesecake. Can Carmen cook a cheesecake? Well, first of all, this is gonna be a raw cheesecake. Well, 99.9% raw. So there's actually no cooking involved at all. Let's get the ingredients together. I've always wanted to do that. So here it is, all of the ingredients set out. 99.9% of these ingredients are raw. The only thing that isn't is the hazelnuts. So I'm adding the hazelnuts to the base of this cheesecake. This is a recipe I adapted from food52.com. I'll leave the link below. I'm adding hazelnuts because I love it, and cacao to the base as well. I love chocolate hazelnut flavor. The middle layer is going to be vanilla bean, and the top layer is going to be raspberry. And I'm going to layer these up. I'm doing them two different versions today. So you can make one big cheesecake as they do on food52.com, or you can make multiple little ones. I'm going to make a smaller round cheesecake, and then I'm going to use this Christmas pudding mold to make an upside down cheesecake. So we'll lay the base in, we'll put the filling in, and we'll freeze it, then we'll turn it upside down. I've made this multiple times before. The flavors that I'm using today are my favorites. You can adapt to use whatever you want in it. You have to start your raw cheesecake process and allow at least 24 hours for the whole process. Each step doesn't take very long, but there's time between each step. So you have to soak your cashews overnight or during the day. So if you're going to make your cheesecake in the morning, soak your cashews overnight. If you're going to make it in the evening, just soak your cashews during the day. Anyway, that's the first part of the process. So let's get started. Starts with soaking cashews, 3 cups of raw, natural, organic cashews, and coat them all the way with water. Use distilled or filtered water for this, as the cashews are going to soak it all up. Okay, so these are soaked overnight, and you can see that the cashew nut has plumped up and it's nice and soft. So now we need to drain these. You'll see the difference between a regular cashew nut and one that's been soaked. The one that's been soaked is a lot whiter, and the one that hasn't been soaked is a lot harder. You can see that it's hard, and the white soaked one has puffed up quite a lot. We now need to drain these and let all of the water wash off them, give them a rinse, and we'll go do the base while they keep draining. Okay, we're ready, all set up, heads back, let's get to it. So for the base, which is step 2, while our cashews are draining, we're going to put half a cup of hazelnuts, 1 cup of raw almonds, 2 tablespoons of cacao powder, so raw organic cacao. I always use organic ingredients when I can. It's not always available, so just do your best, right? And then a good pinch of salt. The Medjool dates, they're really nice and squishy. Now it's 2 cups, which is about 12 dates. Because we're using the cacao powder, it's going to make it a little drier, so I might add a couple extra. I have my tins ready. So just a light bit of coconut oil on a springform tin, and then I've lined the mold with a little bit of the parchment paper. So I use a recycled brown paper parchment. So 1 cup of raw almonds, half a cup of hazelnuts, 2 tablespoons of cacao powder, generous pinch of salt. And the date, you just squish them like so. So here are all the dates, and we'll pop them in now. This is the noisy bit. We want to start on low. So here you can see it's a nice thick crumb, and you can literally make this as thick or as thin as you like. It's always good to taste. So two things with this that I'm noticing. The cacao isn't coming through as much as I would like, so I'm gonna add a tablespoon more cacao powder, which means I'm also gonna add a couple of extra dates. I'm gonna do one more generous tablespoon. Back on with the lid. Get ready. This is a loud bit. Okay, so this is perfect. It's like a dough. You want it nice and malleable. Yeah. Now I can taste the chocolate, and the salt is coming through too, so this is perfect. So we're gonna take 2/3 of this and line the tin, just on the bottom. And then we're gonna take this third, the last third, leave it in here. We're gonna pulse it a little bit more so it becomes more like a dough that we can flatten out and put inside our little dish. You can use a spoon or use your hands, and you just wanna flatten this into an even layer on the bottom of your dish. A spoon with a little bit of coconut oil on the back, and you just use this to push the base. And put it in the fridge to firm up. And so for this one, we're going to pulse it a little bit more so it's a little bit finer, and then we can roll it out like a dough and stick it into the mold. When you lift the lid off, it looks like a dough. Okay, so we're going to turn it out onto some parchment paper. So having the parchment paper down is going to stop it from sticking to here. It's also going to make it really heaps easier to handle because it is quite sticky. And so it's like a dough. It's really easy to work with, and we want it nice and thin. I just like to sort of flatten it out with my hands. Use the parchment paper, and I just use the back of my fingers to just press it out to the sides. Again, you can use the back of the spoon to really help spread it out. From here, we want to take it and we're going to lay it into our mold. Now, the best way to do this is we've already got this parchment paper in here, so we kind of know how big we want it to be. So I'm just going to cut away the edges. We're going to take out a couple of V shapes, and we're going to pick this up in our mold. I'm going to fold it into our pudding shape. And then again, you can use your hands. You're just pressing it into the edges of the mold, into the fridge now to set. We'll get the remaining dough. And we'll make a nice disc shape. So while our bases are setting, we're going to make our filling. Now, a high-powered blender is really important, and know that you have to sort of stop and start a little bit through this process. Our soaked and drained cashews go in. About 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So this is a nice organic lemon. It's really juicy. It's going to have about what we need. I just squeeze it over my hand to stop the pips from going through. Having a little bit extra lemon juice is not going to hurt. So I'm using rice malt syrup in this recipe rather than agave. Agave is a lot thinner. So the rice malt syrup, I find, just holds the cake together a little better. That in combination with the coconut oil. I'm using an organic vanilla paste. This one is really good. I couldn't get vanilla beans this year, so this is a really good paste. 2 teaspoons. Okay. Pinch of salt. So it's 1/2 cup of rice malt syrup. and coconut oil. It needs to be melted, so melt it because when at room temperature it will solidify. This is what's going to help keep the cake together when it's set. But it's 2/3 of a cup. So all of the ingredients are in. Now we just need to blend it. You want to blend until it's really smooth. So start low and then we'll ramp it up. Sure you stop it, and you just want to scrape down the sides. Okay, so the vanilla layer is done. We are going to take about half of this mixture out. There's about 1 liter of liquid in here, so we want to make sure that there's about 500 mils left by the time we add the raspberries in. I've added a little bit of extra coconut oil there because the raspberries are quite wet, so we want the coconut oil to help solidify. I'm going to actually put 3/4 of a cup aside because we want that to be the bottom layer of the domed upside down sort of pudding style one, so we need to put that on top of the raspberry layer. Anyway, and then I'm going to do vanilla layer, and we just spread it evenly on the base. Give it a tap. That's all smooth, so we put that back in the fridge to set. Okay, so that's in the fridge setting. Let's add the raspberries. So this is a cup of raspberries and 1/4 of a cup of coconut oil. I'm just gonna put, doesn't that sound amazing? Hot tip, don't add your coconut oil to the raspberries when they're frozen. It'll solidify. This just happened to me. I did it just not thinking, and then I had to remelt it in a tub of hot water. So try to keep them separate. We put the lid back on and we blend. This is the last blending part. And then we put it all together. Look at that color. So that's all done. We'll put 3/4 of a cup of this into the pudding mold, and then the rest will go on top of the white layer. And then the white layer will go on top of the pudding mold, and then we're done. Simple, right? So we're serving 3/4 of a cup, and then pouring the remainder onto the white layer and smoothing it out. So into the pudding. This layer is so delicious. I've actually filled this almost 3/4 full with the raspberry layer. And I'm just gonna layer the vanilla layer on top. And then after that, we put on that little disc, which is gonna form the base. It's a little bit thicker. Give it a little push. Just make sure you run your finger along the edge so that you've got a nice good seal in there. And give it a little pat. So now they're all layered and done. Put a lid on this guy. And I'm gonna cover this one in your favorite non-plastic wrap. You can use wipe wraps or beeswax wraps. You just wanna make sure that no moisture is getting into the cheesecake. It needs to set for 8 hours in the freezer, and then bring it out, decorate it, and then leave it in the fridge for at least an hour before serving so it can soften. Okay, so it's the next day and I've taken the pudding style cheesecake out of the freezer and also the regular cake style cheesecake out of the freezer. They both need to thaw out a little bit before you decorate them. And I've got my decorations ready, so fresh washed berries. There is some of the raspberries left from yesterday with that juice, which we're gonna pour over the pudding. I've got cacao, hazelnuts, 3 different types of organic, mostly raw vegan chocolate, some of which I have melted to pour over top of the pudding. And so we're going to get decorating. As we're decorating pudding, we'll let the top of the regular cheesecake start to thaw out. This will allow us to press some stuff into it. But let's open them up and have a look. So the pudding, really good, really solid. We're going to just start to bring this, it will come out really easily. This is the plate that I've chosen. And we'll peel the paper off. And the paper gives it this nice pudding kind of rusticy style look. So that's the pudding. So we're gonna start with the white chocolate. And I'm gonna pour this over so that it drizzles down the sides. So now I'm gonna start to do some layers. So I'm just gonna go in raspberries and blueberries. You can just pile it on. You've got those hazelnuts that I've just coated in white chocolate. And I'm just gonna pop them on too. This looks so delicious. We're gonna take our raspberry and this juice is so delicious, so we might as well use it. And we just put that on the very top and the juice. And we just let that drip shards of chocolate in. Crumble some on top, a couple of non-chocolate coated hazelnuts and a little dusting of cacao powder. A little drizzle of white chocolate over top. And there you have it. Okay, so the top of the big cheesecake is sufficiently soft. We can start decorating. I'm gonna go around the edges with blueberries and hazelnuts, and then pile a whole bunch of delicious chocolate and fresh berries in the center, and add some white chocolate drizzle. So here they are. Can Carmen cook a cheesecake? Well, technically there was no cooking involved. A little bit of blending, a little bit of melting, lots of decorating, and a little bit of freezing and waiting. So this pudding style one, you can make it any time of year. It doesn't have to be a festive time of year. It's a really novel way to create a nice, delicious dessert. And the traditional style cheesecake, just leave it in the springform tin until you're ready to serve it. Run a hot knife around the edge and place it on the plate and decorate the plate. I'd love to know what you think of today's video. Let me know in the comments. Everyone, make sure you hit like and subscribe. It really does help. And if you think of anything that you want to know, can Carmen cook this? Write it in the comments and I'll try to cook it. Something that actually might involve cooking. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please take care of yourselves in these trying times. And I'll see you next time on Plant People. See ya.